Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Donald Trump and his largesse to the people, which could be incredibly helpful for him as we go into the closing race, right? So I've recently been watching we're specifically going to talk about Donald Trump saving millions of Americans, according to the Hill, from eviction, and how he did it, and how it's going to help him in the election. All right, so first let's just talk a little bit about my coverage of Donald Trump right now, because I want it to be clear, right? Because I find myself saying a ton of positive things about Donald Trump, and I need to put that into context. I really dislike Trump as a president. I think he is horribly damaging the presidency as a role. It's a terrible thing. I need to be super clear. I have no intentions of voting for Trump, right? But I have developed a passion to see Joe Biden lose. And the reason why is Donald Trump is somebody who wanted the job, got the job of U.S. president, disrespected the role, and really turned American politics upside down for a long time, right? But this is somebody who's performing at who is jumping into something that they want to do and then executing poorly, right? Joe Biden, I really dislike him, and frankly I have to say I dislike him more than Trump. And the reason why is I really don't like somebody taking something they don't want, right? Because I just feel passionately that I'm convinced Joe Biden doesn't want to be president. You know what? I don't need to sell you on this. He said this. He said, I am going to run because we need to stop Donald Trump. That's not a reason to run for president. I can't. And I am growing a strong detest for it, right? Like, to me, and here's why. When I was 18, I went to Millersville University and I got a political science degree so that I could be president, right? Now, I failed. I'm not on a track to be president, right? I failed in my dream job, right? But I definitely wanted to be president. I was, running. I'm like, if I'm going to get a political science degree, I'm going to take the top job, baby. That's how Garibays do, right? So, and the thing is to come in and say, I'm going to take this top job that everybody in the world wants, but I don't even want it. I'm just going to stop that person from doing it. I detest that, right? Now, I got 4 kids, and one of the reasons why is I've seen this happen for a long time, right? Like, kids argue, period. Brothers and sisters who love each other, brothers and brothers, sisters and sisters, they will argue, right? And I've seen this pattern a million times where, one kid, and it happens in a million formats, but you get one kid whistling and another kid's like, you need to stop that, right? Now, whistling is annoying, right? But the reality is, if this person's getting joy out of whistling and this person is not getting joy out of whistling, they need to go outside or do something else, right? Just because you don't want a thing to happen, that is not a reason to get involved and to stop somebody else from doing something. So I have more respect for Donald Trump going into a job he wanted and failing than Joe Biden going into a job he truly did not want, that he literally turned down 4 years ago. Do you know how long the line is for people who want to be president? And we're about to put a guy in who doesn't even want the job? I detest it, right? In addition to this, that I think it is outrageously dangerous to put Joe Biden in, because he clearly is not capable of finishing even a single term. That it's an open secret at this point. Why are we pretending that he's capable of finishing even a single term? And he sets an outrageously dangerous precedence of putting people in who are not in my opinion, clearly not capable of finishing even a single term. And the other idea, the retired senior as president, as presidential, as a retired senior, as someone who is capable of being president, this ain't a hobby, right? Like, if you're retired and America said, we will pay you a check to go sit in a rocking chair, the hardest job in the world ain't for you, right? Like this, and with Biden, we are doubling down on retired seniors as great content for president. And Bernie Sanders had a heart attack just trying to be president, right? Also, you might want to get yourself over to Drudge and check out the fact that Drudge is saying that Drudge actually is carrying content right now saying that Donald Trump may have had a heart attack and doing a lot of speculation. And you're like, oh, that's terrible, Drudge. You shouldn't be saying that president had a heart attack and there's evidence that he had a heart attack. That's a terrible thing to say. Except, oh, wait, seniors, retired seniors, they're a lot more likely to have a heart attack than almost anybody else in the country. And we're putting them into a job where we know for a fact it has more stress than any job in the world. Right? It is fundamentally bad what math. And while the Democrats beg for people to pay attention to science, there's these like little lacunas where they're like, let's ignore science here. No, if you want us to believe in science, then let's believe in science. Scientifically, it ain't a good idea for retired seniors who are more likely to get corona, more likely to get heart attacks, and sure as heck shouldn't be having the most stress of any job in the world put on them. Like this is like asking a retired senior to go out and chop a cord of wood, right? Like, and frankly, that would be kinder. Because this job will grind you to a nub. Man, this job will take decades off your life. And when you're 77, you ain't got decades to take. Right? Like, this is just... Biden is a problem from 55 different directions. And so one, I appreciate your patience because I didn't even get to the point I wanted to talk about. I kind of did it on... I just need you guys to understand. I am really hoping for Biden to lose. And the reason why is... I cannot reward the Democrats for putting us here, right? And if we do it, if we put Joe Biden in here, we say to the Democrats, you'd best give us a horrible, horrible, horrible candidate next time too. You did it in 2016. You gave us a candidate that by every measure had no ability to win. In 2020, you gave us a candidate that by every measure didn't even want the job, right? So we cannot reward Democrats for their antics in 2020, right? And that's the other thing is the Democrats pretend to be on the side of good, and then they do something outrageous like this. Just, no change, Biden is a terrible candidate by almost any measure, right? And I kind of have more respect for the Republicans who are like, yeah, we got a monster. Look at, come on, Trump's Trump, right? We ain't making no bones about it. We ain't pretending, right? Whereas the Democrats... They drug us through the fire, man. They showed us 24. They showed us 24 candidates, 14 of which were amazing, and then said, "Here's here's one of the most milquetoast of the bunch." All that talk about rainbow coalitions and minority, giving respect to minorities, and all these kind of things, and then it all just goes poof, right? I just, I feel like the Republicans are owning their villainy at least, and there's more honesty in that than the Democrats pretending to be good and to be for change, and then trotting out somebody who's not capable of doing the job, does not want the job, and anybody who gives them their vote, they're begging to have this happen again in 2024. And I can't be in that line, right? Hypocrisy is a big deal for me. So, all right, let me get to Trump real quick and what he did. So Trump I couldn't believe the way he did this. He made it so that right now, if you're not paying your rent, you can't be evicted. And the way he did it is, if he was going to say, oh, we're excusing you from that bill, he would have no ability to do that under the Constitution. They used a law from 1944, right, and said, this is a health crisis. So you can't evict people because when they come out, they're going to go into diaspora. They're going to spread the disease. They're going to spread the pandemic, right? So he's using the CDC and the ability of the CDC to make sure to do a quarantine and saying, if you're evicting people, you're making it so they can't quarantine. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant idea. Again, the idea that Trump is stupid is outrageous. It is a lie that the Democrats have sold for 4 years, and all that came of it was to show that the Democrats didn't understand their opponent and were willing to lie. And frankly, you have to lie to think that Donald Trump is not smart, right? Like, you have to, I really feel you have to at minimum lie to yourself. He is definitely smart, right? Because that's a pretty dope tactic for getting people out of the eviction roll, right? So he's saying, if somebody hasn't paid their rent, you can't evict them because you can't take them out of their quarantine. Brilliant, right? The other thing is it looks compassionate, because it is compassionate. Who wants to get evicted, right? It's not, that's nobody wants to be evicted. It's a terrible thing, right? I wouldn't want to see anybody get evicted. So it is literally compassionate, right? It's also pretty brilliant because Republicans don't want to spend money, and here's a way to stop people from being evicted without giving them the money to pay so they don't get evicted. It's pretty freaking brilliant. It's really, really smart, right? So, and I think it's going to turn into votes for Trump. It really is. It's going to turn into votes for Trump without a doubt. So I really, in every possible way, I think Trump is continuing to outpace Biden, and and I have no intention of voting for Joe Biden. I have no intention of voting for Donald Trump. Right in is right on. You need to make sure you know who you think is worthy and capable of doing this job. And I'll tell you right now, Donald Trump isn't worthy. He does not respect the role. Joe Biden is not capable. Joe Biden can barely make it through a 30-minute interview. There's no way he's going to make it through a 4-year term. It's cruel. It is incredibly cruel. The idea that the weight that this position will put on him, it'll snap him like a twig. There's no two ways about it. Right? Because you could see he's brittle at this point. There's just no two ways about it. So all that's my opinion. I'd love to hear your opinion. What do you think? Do you think this was compassionate on the part of Donald Trump to save these people from eviction? I don't like Trump, but I gotta admit, it's hard to see that not as compassionate. And it's also hard to see that not as a pretty brilliant move from a Republican's perspective to make sure people get to stay in their homes but not have to put a dollar out of their pocket. It's pretty interesting. All that's my opinion. I'd love to hear your opinion on it. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.